The Last of Us Season 2 finale came. I've been saying since day one, I'm convinced Neil Druckmann and producers, they do not care about their audience. And they don't care about making their own IPs or new IPs and keeping to the source material. Unfortunately, they kept to the source material from Last of Us Part 2. And say what you want, guys. It looks like the audience are following suit because there's been a 55% audience decline. Bella Ramsey, it's not her fault for being hired for this damn show. She is the worst freaking Ellie. The worst Ellie. The emotions, nothing. The worst thing is she is so freaking annoying. I want her to die in the series. I want her to die.
I'm gonna be a dad. Yeah.
So dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
Neil Druckmann, for me, he ruined it, and now the show's been ruined, and the true test for Neil Druckmann is Intergalactic. I hated the game story where it went because you had your main character, you false advertised everything, played that game for years to come thinking that it was going to be another adventure with Ellie and Joel. Ellie, Ashley Johnson, done an amazing freaking job in Last of Us Part 2, even though I don't agree with like the ending of how she, you know, didn't kill Abby. Her emotions in that game were incredible. How she acted, she was traumatized by Joel's death. And in this one, she's going down the yellow brick road and let's go for a picnic, Dina. Let's go for it. Let's get naked, Dina.
What?
It doesn't make any sense to me. No emotion, emotion. No emotion, emotion. And then the emotion you do get is this. Season 2 finale ratings reveal major drop, 55% audience decline. So The Last of Us Season 2 is officially wrapped up. HBO is touting the series' long-term streaming growth. The initial ratings for the finale paint a much different picture. According to data, the Season 2 finale drew 3.7 million cross-platform views in the US on its first night. So that's the Season 2 finale. While that number may seem strong, it represents a 30% drop from the Season 2 premiere, so the start of Season 2, which brought 5.3 million viewers. More significantly, it marks a 55% drop from the Season 1 finale, which drew 8.2 million viewers across the platform. Tell me that's not good.
Jesus!
55% drop. It's not her fault for being freaking hired. It's the flipping directors. Like, even Pedro Pascal, for me, he did a good enough job, but he was the main focus, obviously, of that series. He did a good enough job. If you've played the games and you've seen the series, even if someone was to go back and they just saw the series and they went back to the game and just saw the cutscenes and saw a playthrough, they will know that Joel was so much better than Pedro Pascal. He was so weird in himself. They dumbed him down so much. He was so weak. I don't get why you take an existing franchise and you destroy it. The dynamic between Ellie and Joel was completely different from the first game. He was a father figure. He was authoritative. He goes, listen, you will listen to me. She just did what she wants. Like, when I played Last of Us Part 2, and I know I'm going back, but we're going to talk about this. When I went back, I didn't really look at YouTube. I was just a gamer. I didn't really play the PS4 library. I literally only played God of War, Uncharted, A Thief's End, only a few games. So when I played Last of Us Part 2 and it happened, I was like, why did you do this? Why did you ruin it? And again, I got my money back from false advertising. Neil Druckmann can say what he wants, but he falsely advertised that game. The story I just didn't like in Last of Us Part 2. But what's crazy, guys, is that they made it worse in the season. How did you make it worse? They want to stretch this game to 2 seasons. So we would have to wait 2 years from now for the next season to see Abby's perspective and maybe that scene in the boat, which we don't want to see. And then you want to do another season to wrap up Part 2. I feel like the audience are not going to care. What's crazy is that you want to wait 2 years and you're telling me people are going to still be wanting to watch this when they probably dislike Abby for killing the main character because you started it off. And no matter what they do, this is what I mean about ruining franchises. Of course, Neil Druckmann said, oh, basically with Ellie, there was a 100% chance of making a cure. You're trying so hard to justify why Joel is bad. Why Joel is bad. This is crazy. This is what I don't get. The definition of insanity. Doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. And now, with that drop, like, will HBO even want to stretch it to a season 4? I don't understand why Neil hates The Last of Us or why he thinks he had to like fix something. I'm shocked because you could say The Last of Us is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite game of all time. Part 1 obviously. And I'm pretty sure that he just hates... I don't know. I think he hates gamers. I think he doesn't care about feedback. I think he forgets. I think he just wants to make movies and series. And you can go to Hollywood. Get out of gaming. I would love for you to get out of gaming.
No one loves these characters more than we do. And we would not do this if we didn't feel like we had the right idea. And
are you sure about that?
Really, The Last of Us is about these two characters specifically. All I ask is the fans of the first ones, put some faith in us, trust us, we're going to do right by you.
A few moments later.
There's going to be fans of the first game that aren't going to like the second game, and that we have to be okay with that. And there's going to be people that just never played the first game are going to love the second game. And all we can do is be true to ourselves and keep making what we believe in.
He hates his audience 100% because what's crazy is that you get the backlash for part 2, and you would think with Intergalactic, you look at the ratings on YouTube, they are not looking good, and you would think that you would want some sort of feedback, or you would want to take on some feedback, or basically acknowledge what the gamers think. But he just doesn't care. He's one of the most disliked people. And to follow on from The Last of Us or the season, Neil Druckmann's response to Intergalactic. So this is what he said, the Heretic Prophet backlash. So he's talking about the backlash. Stick to your guns and do what you believe in. Now, I get that to an extent. I get that to an extent because if you're making something and you think, you know what, I think this is going to be good. But when you've had so much backlash from the part 2 in the game, it didn't sell nowhere near as many as the first. And now you know how much people are against you with the game and the season and season 2. And now Intergalactic, how much is that going to cost? Neil Druckmann has responded to backlash around the studio's next big game. And if the source of backlash is what I think it is, I'm a little disappointed he's giving these people any air. I don't want to get into the weeds for obvious reasons, but from my research, it seems a vocal minority of anti-woke internet dwellers are big mad that the Intergalactic Heretic Prophet stars a woman of color. Now, this is stupid. I don't know if there's much I could add to that conversation. To be honest, he said it's just that there's stuff happening right now with media that you just have to ignore for the most part. Stick to your guns and do what you believe in. And I feel that that's how I feel I want artists to carry themselves. The problem is Naughty Dog is a completely different studio, and I feel like him especially has not been the best in connecting with his fans. Despite how I feel about part 2, guys, I've always loved Naughty Dog with what they've done, but it's not the same Naughty Dog. And you would think with a studio like this, you would appreciate your fans, good or bad. Good or bad. I just don't agree with how he's gone about the fact that he just doesn't want to acknowledge anything. Jermaine, you have to respect the fact that he's sticking with his vision. The problem with that is that I personally feel like if you're making a product, if this is the first one he's made, the first project he's made, and he has got some backlash to it, 100%, keep to your guns, do what you believe in. The problem is what happened with part 2, copyright striking and taking down channels illegally, trying to hide the fact that he was lying about advertising, about the story, and he never acknowledged the people that loved Joel or loved the first game, and it divided the fans. And now it was confirmed, or it has been confirmed, that there's not going to be a part 3. I'll be very surprised if there's a Last of Us part 3. In the interview which he did not long ago, which we saw, you would think that he would acknowledge the fans. He just doesn't care.
Who gives a shit?
Exactly.
And I feel like criticism or saying that, why can't he say, listen, I know fans didn't like the second game. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I feel like with Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, don't judge it by its cover. Believe you and me, people, even if you didn't like The Last of Us Part 2, the gameplay is going to be amazing, the storytelling. He just doesn't care anymore. That's what I get. Well, who cares about criticism? Just stick to what you mean. If it was anyone else, it's different. The problem is, Naughty Dog, they haven't made any games. They've been milking The Last of Us to recuperate money, it looks like, because they haven't made a game for the PS5 yet. And to think with Intergalactic, they need to make money. At the end of the day, you need to make money, right? And the question is, if the game is going to cost 250 million, what are we going to do? This could have been one of the best series ever. This could have been one of the best series ever. They picked the wrong actor. They don't care. Once again, they don't care what their audience wants. Like how Neil's acted, I'm like, this guy is